on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
Please hit the like. Thank you.
Please hit the like.
I mean, just
Thank you.
There are so many different types of
just look
Of aliens. There are so many different types of species of aliens. Now,
I'm going to show you guys
you
something.
know I do my research, and I think one of the things that it comes down to, especially with like the weird cloning and stuff like that that's going on.
Now, you've seen that, right?
Video.
Now, I want to show you
I should say.
a video or a photo, I should say, of the same
Let me locate it here.
being. So give me a moment. Let me locate it here. Let me locate it.
Because I have it on my favorites.
I have it on my favorites.
You guys can see I stay
You guys can see
catching
I stay
UAP alien
catching
photos,
any UAP alien photos, etc., etc., etc.
Does that look familiar?
There we go. Now,
watch this for a sec.
Here we go. Does that look familiar? Just watch this for a sec.
I know it's the same being because of the headpiece.
I know it's the same being because of the headpiece.
Notice the headpiece right here. Right?
Notice the headpiece right here.
Even though it's a little bit darker.
Right? And if we go back,
a little bit darker,
even though it's a little bit darker, right?
There's like a niche or a community.
It's a little bit darker. It's the same.
There's like a niche or a community, right?
Very similar.
I'll mute that for right now.
You can see it.
But it's very similar.
It's black.
Look, you can see it. It's
I don't know if it's secured to the head.
It's black.
Or what?
I don't know if it's secured to the head.
The same being.
Or what?
Whoever.
But that is the same being. So
is in
whoever
of this being.
Managed to is in possession of this being.
Full on video. Now,
has managed to get photos full on video.
Look at that.
Now, this video has no sound. Look at that.
Right.
Black headpiece that is around this being. Right? And look.
That's the same.
Go back.
So,
that's the same headpiece.
I'm gonna. I don't know. This is. People.
I'm gonna post it now. I don't believe this is.
Claim that,
people post videos and photos, and they'll claim that. They're leaked KGB files, but that is clearly the same.
No question. No question in my mind.
No question.
So, anyway.
No question in my mind.
I wanted to show you that.
In
preparation of
wanted to show you that
interview that
I've got with Jon Stewart, interview that I've got with Jon Stewart, I would like to say a little bit of our previous interview.
Very interesting.
And I think you guys will find it very, very interesting.
My YouTube channel.
As you can see here, this is my YouTube channel. All right, it is LeakYou.com.
So this is my page. You're more than welcome to subscribe to it.
So this is my page. You're more than welcome to subscribe to it.
Of different things.
I cover a variety
it's
of
kind of
different things.
ridiculous.
You
How
know,
much
it's kind of ridiculous.
I have
How much
covered in regards to
I
this.
have
So I'd like to
covered
go
in
ahead
regards
and show
to
you
this. So I'd like
this
to go ahead and show you
particular interview that I did with
this
Jon Stewart regarding the
particular
1997 Alien
interview that I did with Jon Stewart
and
regarding the
provide more
1997
context,
Alien
and I hope you
interview.
guys really enjoy it.
And it'll provide more
Definitely,
context.
guys, again, this is my
and I
first
hope you guys
TikTok,
really enjoy it.
and I encourage
Definitely,
you
guys, again, this is my
you know,
first
to
TikTok.
subscribe,
And I encourage you guys,
let's do this,
you know, to
shall we?
subscribe. And let's do this.
Go ahead
Shall
and
we?
go back. And let's
go ahead and go back. And let's
hope you guys enjoy.
do it. Hope you guys enjoy.
Shit. Shit.
Have you ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
I don't think you guys need my cam on at this point.
Oh, and let me turn my cam off because I don't think you guys need my cam on at this point.
1 second. We'll turn that off. Or actually, we'll push that down.
1 second. We'll turn that off.
There we go.
Or actually, we'll push that down.
There we go. All right, let's do
There we
it.
go. Bring backward. There we go. All right, let's do it.
Shout out to DJ Academic.
What the fuck is LeakYou? Is that like a site? What's LeakYou?
Shout out
So
to
look at
DJ
LeakYou
Academic.
video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is that a YouTube channel? Oh shit. All right, bet. Here we go.
Thank you, guys. I'll fix that right now on YouTube.
Please hit the like. Thank you. a member of the LeakYou, a member of the LeakYou community, and she told me about the show. I watched it. I was blown away. So I'm going to tell you off the cuff. I'm not even going to ask a lot of questions because I just feel that energy, and I just know that I want to hear everything that you have to say. But to introduce Jon Stewart to everybody, former pro wrestler, candidate for Illinois governor, has had a 15-year journey of discovering the truth of this 1997 Victor Whistleblower's film of this Area 51 alien interview, right? And I'm very interested in the professional wrestler aspect of it, but also candidate for both United States House of Representatives and most recently Libertarian candidate for Illinois governor. And you've been on national media like O'Reilly, Hannity, CNN, and even the New York Times. And I like the fact that you're into the UFO community and cryptozoology, which is another really great topic that I absolutely love. So it's really great to have you here today. So tell us about this investigation that you've been working on with this alien interview. I mean, I'll let you just take it away.
Sure. Thank you so much. I received, and I know people say this, I receive thousands of emails a day as a UFO researcher. Anyway, I don't believe that. But I received like 5 or 6 emails today from your show that were so nice and so genuine. I'm a sensitive guy. I wear my heart on my sleeve. These people were so kind in their comments. And I just want to say to Carrie and to the people that emailed me, thank you so much. It really means a lot. You know, you're out here, with your tail in the wind, and you're in no man's land. So, and when people write you, it's to me, it's a little overwhelming, and I appreciate it. And getting to the larger point, thank you for having me on LeakYou.
Absolutely,
a great show. I've seen it before, and anyone that helps me get this. Just get the message out that, this investigation is not about Jon Stewart. It's not about the United States government. It's about the citizens of the United States. And I'm not being Pollyanna. I'm not doing a campaign whistle stop. This is about a crossroads in America where people, the time for the cloak and dagger and the darkness of government that kind of started in Vietnam and the Nixon administration. Guys, it's over. We need to move on. We really do.
Disclosures here.
Because I don't think that, in my opinion, that the world is in any imminent doom because for hundreds of thousands of years, other beings have traversed the skies and the galaxy to come to this beautiful planet. So, my investigation has had humor. I hope to inject some of that here today. And I'd like to just start. I just want people to, I have some caveats, and I say this is what you're about to hear is what has been told to me, what I have read, what I have discovered. And yes, some things that I was told and read were exciting at the moment, but I was a true investigative journalist. I vetted all of my sources, 3-4 levels of vetting to make sure that when I do speak about things, at least I've given it the all-American try.
Mm-hmm.
I still, I'm not saying I know 100% of the truth. I don't have the alien in my basement in formaldehyde. Most, and I hope people can respect the fact that I'm a 56-year-old middle-aged grandfather, semi-retired businessman, and I stepped up to the plate to break into the most high-tech facility ever designed and built known to man, to do it 30 years in the past, where 90% of my witnesses were dead.
Yes.
So, and remodel a kitchen and buy a black Labrador puppy. And I mean,
that's amazing.
My wife and I aren't the sharpest pencils in the drawer. So. to take
amazing.
But we
Yes.
So little.
Oh my God!
Before I begin with my investigation, because there's somebody else out there that's the only true Victor investigation. I just want to let you know. Yeah, you know what I went through. I interviewed 43 experts. Now that's many times. That's contacting them. That sometimes is waiting 5, 6, 7 months, a year to finally speak to them. I've sent over 287 emails. I've traveled to 7 states in America: Havana, Cuba, London, Oxford. I paid $2,500 to do a secondary high-tech video analysis by the man National Geographic hired to do the high-tech analysis of Patterson Gimlin. So, you know, when you're taking $2,500 of the checking account, Mama's not happy. But I did it. I've contacted people like Hewlett-Packard Space Labs. I've done my own experiment on could I create this monitor myself, to hoax it myself, to get sources. I drove over 10,343 miles for this investigation in America. I have interviewed 4 special effects experts, 2 lie detection experts from the Reed School of Lie Deception, an FBI analysis, 4 police officers. I've been to 7 states. I've done 13 FOIA requests. I've written 6 congressmen, 4 articles for online magazines. I've researched this. My journey has gotten so bizarre. I spent months researching protein enzyme extraction, ham radio operators, and I've spent probably about 3 weeks combing obituaries on Legacy.com. I spoke with a former retired rep of the Vatican. I've gotten tinnitus for my trip in Havana. I'm not piling on that I got the infrasound attack like the diplomats got. All I know is I came back from Havana with tinnitus. I have ringing in my ears currently. I don't want sympathy. I'm just telling you the stuff I had a problem with. I got dysentery in Havana. I almost had to go to the hospital for hemorrhoids because of the dysentery. And then, you know, I know that's Seinfeld-esque, but it is the truth. I've been blacklisted by the Pentagon. The truth. I have been no contact blacklisted by the Pentagon. Like if you ask somebody from the Pentagon, can I speak with Jon Stewart? It is a cease and desist, no contact order. I am, according to the FOIA department of the Defense Intelligence Agency, I am the only FOIA requester in DIA history that has his name on the computer of DIA without a file attached. And I've never seen this before in the history that I've been here at the FOIA desk. His name was Andrew. So, you know, and I've done the study of 16 millimeter film in the Air Force. I've become an expert on VHS digital overlay graphics, which is what was on the bottom of the film. I've gotten to be an expert on military uniforms, the history of Area 51, and mining and construction of these underground facilities. So if there's somebody else out there that has done a more comprehensive investigation, and I'm not saying this as a Christmas brag letter, I just want to get it across to people. I work my ass off for you, for the American people, so I can come to people, you know, like you, LeakYou, and pound my chest a little bit for the fact is that I worked hard. And I did the best job I could. And I am one of those few UFO people, alien phenomenon people that come out and say, I don't know either. I'm one of you. I don't know the truth either. But this is what I found. Why don't you listen to me? Make your own decision. You don't have to write me an hour later that I'm fat and I didn't go to, I'm a loser wrestler because I never made it to WrestleMania. And what were some of the...
What was your wrestle name?
This dude's got ADD. I know I have ADD. So, anyway, I'm glad I got that across. So thank you. And I know I speak fast. I'm going to try and slow down here.
That's okay. That's okay. What was your wrestling name or your stage name?
I started off as the Beach Boy, which was, fun love. You know, I quit Memphis State football in '86. I started wrestling with Jerry Lawler. And then I became the illustrious Johnny Stewart, which was like a Ric Flair gimmick. And I did this in college. I wrestled Sergeant Slaughter on the ESPN main event while I was a junior in college. I am telling you, Sergeant Slaughter was quizzing me about managerial psychology the following Monday in the locker room of the Mayo Civic Center. So I've had a very bizarre very, very bizarre.
Very
life.
interesting life.
Yeah, and for a guy that just wanted to step in the ring once, because wrestling in the 80s was like the mafia. There was no entrance way. You had to finagle your way to meet a wrestler or promoter. You had to beg, borrow. You had to go through just like the mafia, loyalty tests and whatnot. And for a guy that just wanted to climb in the ring once, and I got to wrestle on ESPN for the light heavyweight championship of the world. I know wrestling is all about miles and money. I put in the miles, I didn't get a lot of money, but it was a great experience. I've had a lot of great experiences, and I think that is part and parcel to some of the success that I've had with this investigation. I've become extremely tenacious. I don't give up. I've learned through traveling all these years with wrestling to be kind and slightly. It's a bad word, slightly manipulative to get ahead of the line, or to get an answer, or to get on this next flight, or it's called being
in a good way, in a good way.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a beautiful blouse, and can I get on the next flight? And and are you a wrestler? Of course I am. Do you want a picture? Okay, that kind of stuff. And LeakYou, that was something that first of all, there's really two people that really did a deep dive on this. One was Andrew Burlington in England, who really hyper studied the video, and myself. There's been no one else, and that really pissed Victor off when he came back in the second documentary. But why I think I've been successful where some people have failed, maybe, or didn't come up to par with the alien interview or other videos or other things that people have investigated, is that I never came at any of the 43 experts and whistleblowers that came to me with gotcha questions. I asked a question. I sat there. I listened. I took it at their speed. A lot of times I was tested for weeks and months to see if I was ready to receive any kind of information, and that patience level, which I never had, I gathered, and I tried to be a nice person and sincere, and I think that really was the linchpin that helped me be a lot successful in finding out so much information about this video and about Victor and about the government's alien interrogation and retention program.
Alien, say that word again?
Yeah, so let's start with the first bombshell. The official designation set forth by the Defense Intelligence Agency, what I was told, now don't be mad at me, LeakYou, I'm going to say that a lot, because we have keyboard warriors that are just what I was told, the Defense Intelligence Agency, who took over the entire alien program from the Air Force. You are not going to believe this, but the Air Force in the 60s, when Barry Goldwater was a senator, said, we are done. We can't take this anymore. Project Blue Book is over. They literally, for all intents and purposes, metaphorically, put the alien program, the capture of craft, beings, reverse engineering, up for auction. And I'm being metaphoric. And the United States senators, led by Barry Goldwater, started the Defense Intelligence Agency because they were frustrated too. They were getting the runaround. This is really important for people to understand this. Senate and Congress were getting a runaround. They wanted to have their own collection of information, so they started the DIA. Barry Goldwater was instrumental. By the way, Barry Goldwater, still to this day, other than maybe Harry Reid, was the most read-in, briefed senator up until 4 minutes ago. This is what I was told.
Wow.
He was stymied by Curtis LeMay. Anyways, so the DIA takes and grabs the alien program from the Air Force, from what I was told. And their official designation of what you see on this video is called the Alien Retention and Interrogation Program. That is verbatim from a DIA report. The Alien Retention, which is obviously the capture, which is a specialized Air Force unit, by the way, that does that, and retention. And there's many names for them. There was an attempt to have some comportment with these beings from off planet. They were called visitors, ambassadors. The interview suite that Victor talks about with this alien creature, which you showed and we'll talk about, was actually called the Ambassador Suite. And Sean Morton actually found that out. Sean Morton has been a very instrumental part of just being my coach and, pointing me, because he's had an in-depth interview with the Navy SEAL Sentry, who was down at S4. Anyway, right. So that's the official designation. The housing complex is called the Alien Housing Complex. And the next bombshell is that this S4, it's like this really cool name that everybody throws around. Right. And well, like 3 sources that say, stop saying S4. You're going to be a really intelligent person in the UFO community if you start throwing around S2, Sector 2. That is the entire area where this underground program takes place. And to get there, you have to go to Annex 2, which is just a little bit west of Papoose Lake and 10 miles south of Area 51. And it's Annex 2 is the building that you enter. You drive down the ramp. They hook up an exhaust hose to your car's exhaust pipe. You walk into the office. You exchange badges. And then you are taken underground over to S4. S4 is simply the building that is underneath Papoose Lake, and that has 4 levels, with the 5th, I guess, basically being the top level where craft are stored in a 60-degree angled hangars, and the doors are painted, or covered with a sand-like substance to mimic the mountainside. So
amazing.
That's the overall. This program is real. Victor, well, let's just start from the beginning. So there's the recap. 3 highly intelligent whistleblowers came forward to me and with very bits of information that I just put together for you just a second ago. It's 97. I'm living this great life. I'm a part-time pro wrestler. I'm an automobile dealer. I'm living downtown in Chicago. I'm not bragging, folks. I'm trying to give you context so you understand why this grabbed me. And I got a boat on Lake Michigan. I'm driving an 8-year-old black Porsche. I mean, I was like Charlie Babbitt in Rain Man. I was just, auto dealer, wrestler. I was running for state rep, and my buddy's like, "Hey, there's going to be some kind of alien show on the UPN network." So it's called the Alien Interview. LeakYou, forgive me. This is my George Costanza in me. I'm thinking Alien Interview. I'm going to see a humanoid-looking person at the Pentagon with a clipboard trying to get a job interview. I really didn't know. I've got my chips, on the couch, and the Chicago skylines to the left of me. I'm drinking my Diet Pepsi, and all of a sudden, this unproduced, non-Hollywood special effect creature comes on the camera, and I thought I was being punked. I'm like, what am I watching here? There was no cuts. There was no blurriness. No one was purposely trying to block your view.
Mm-hmm. Those things that they do, those techniques that they use.
Right. I call it bullshit. And at the end, it shows, towards the end, you do see a highlighted quick shot of the creature's torso. There's no puppetry in front of it or underneath it. And my first instinct is this. And again, folks, just work with me here. If you're going to hoax an alien video of a gray alien, why do you make it terracotta, or as Linda Howe calls it, peanut butter color? Why is this thing gray? If you're going to hoax me, make it gray. If you're going to have a hoax gray alien, why does it not have almond eyes? Special effects people have told me that's an easier hoax than a round eye because of the nature of the servos or however you would move the skin. So you initially put out a video of a gray alien that's brown with round eyes. I would say you're an idiot producer to start with, in your waste, whoever is hosting this video. Then there's the monitor. If you see that, the monitor is going up and down. At first glance, it looks like it's a pane of glass with some kind of laser on it or a cathode ray tube.
I've wondered for years what that is.
So that was the beginning of my research. So I'm thinking, how did they get some kind of weird monitor like that in her. Now the creature is coughing, and here comes the medical staff. Heckle and Jekyll, as I call them. I know these men now. I mean, folks, the two men you are seeing going to be entering the room who touched the creature. One is dead. One is still practicing medicine in Connecticut. I mean,
an actual doctor.
Two doctors. Here they come. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I'm becoming Victor here because he was very.
Yeah.
And Victor said the medical staff is hired more for their willingness to keep secrets than their medical knowledge. And so the man with the gauze to the right of us, he is practicing medicine in Connecticut as we speak. Wow. He's old. He's about 78 years old. The man to the left, he died in California. He's the only doctor I've ever read that doesn't have any information about him on the internet. Isn't that a little strange?
Very.
The left right now, holding the creature's shoulders. I spoke to his second wife, who he died in. She was the widow. And I'm not jumping forward, but it's a good point to bring this up. I told her, it's like telling somebody your husband is a transvestite who wears women's clothes. Think about calling an 80-year-old woman saying your husband, worked with aliens. And I'm not going to say her name. She's in California, 80 years old, nicest lady in the world. I told her who I was. And I said, I have very good information that your husband was a physician, a doctor attendant to, I know this is really uncomfortable for me to say, ma'am, but to an off-planet being, an extraterrestrial. She didn't laugh. She didn't hung up. Silence on the phone. I'm like, what's going on here? She goes, well, John, that really makes a lot of sense. And I did this about 20 times in my journey, like, holy shit, this is working. She goes, that really is weird. That really makes sense. And I said, well, why is that? Can you elaborate? She said, my husband refused, this is a quote, my husband refused to talk about anything to do with his time in the Army Medical Corps. Now, again, this is George Costanza. What's the Army Medical Corps? I don't.
Right.
Like, well, that's the doctor corps of the Army. I'm like, okay, I never knew that. She said, John, this is weird. Folks, verbatim. John, this is weird. All of our friends who are our age, they were in Korea, World War II, Vietnam, other than harsh combat situations. All of our friends have these hilarious stories about boot camp or, being shipped off here or their drill instructor or their commanding officer or really cool stories of the armed forces. She goes, we would be, out with couples of our age, and my husband would sit there and never inject any story about his time in the medical corps. And she goes, and now I know why. She goes,
wow.
I said, I will send you the video. I sent it to her. She sent me an email back because I sent it through my email. And she said, he's got a thin, pointy nose, and that looks like my husband to the creature's right or left. And I thank you for bringing this to me, and have a nice day. Now, we could stop there, couldn't we?
Oh, my gosh. That's huge.
The whistleblower, and we'll get to this, who sent me the list of people, the doctors in the room, and the military men behind the viewing partition glass, which is what the camera through. So I do a wrap up here. So what you're telling me is some hoaxer out there found a doctor who is 90 years old, who was in the Army Medical Corps, who has a wife that claims he kept quiet the whole time. I mean, and I called this woman completely out of the blue. Oh, and that Northern California country doctor doesn't have a thing about him on the internet.
Makes no sense.
How could you be a doctor and not have one, your former office hours or some award?
No business, no patient reviews, nothing.
And this is what another whistleblower told me. And Don Schmidt, the Roswell expert, tells me sheep tip. It's they. I don't know who they is. Still to this day, government, the shadow government, this group of people that operate on the periphery of, our world, global.
Right.
I don't know. I'm telling you, folks. I'm a UFO researcher, and I'm telling you, I don't know. So appreciate my humility.
Oh, we do.
And I'm not. I just want to get that across. So hoaxer found this old lady to tell me that her husband is mums on his experience. like
it made sense to her.
Yeah, so that was 97. It's 99. I'm running for Congress. I drop out of what the New York Times called the dirtiest congressional race in United States history. There was 11 candidates, and we did everything except like autopsy each other's loved ones. It was horrific. My wife's like, you are dropping out. You have no chance of winning. So I end up endorsing a man that became congressman and a U.S. senator. He's now retired. He brings in John McCain. Folks, I'm just telling you like it is. He brings in John McCain. We do a bus tour of the district at the end of the campaign cycle for the primary or for the general election. So I take a picture with John McCain after his speech. We're about to get back on the bus, and I stop him right before the hallway. I have a picture of this in my home. I said, Senator, I said, just want to let you know my father worked on was a hydraulics mechanic on F9s in tactical fighter training in Corpus Christi. And he's like, oh, I took my course. I took the fighter jet training in Pensacola. He goes, oh, that's great. And Dad must be a real cool guy. I said, before we get on the bus, Senator, what is the Department of Naval Intelligence? And folks, this is what Victor tells us is on the bottom of the screen of the film DNI, David November Igloo. And Victor says this is for the Department of Naval Intelligence. Now I'm asking, I think it's right under. Okay. So
yep, DNI right there.
Here's LeakYou. Here's the idiot hoaxer number 3. This is you and I are hoaxing this video. So we've hired Phil, the producer. Phil puts in an acronym on the bottom of the film of a military organization that doesn't exist. It didn't exist in 91. You Google it, all you get is the Office of Naval Intelligence. Okay, important to know. Why would you put that at the bottom of the video? I got to be an expert in digital overlay graphics. That costs like $3,000 to put that in an acronym, burn it, it's called, onto that. Right. So it's called the DNI. So I asked Senator McCain, what is the DNI? The Department of Naval Intelligence. LeakYou, this holly jolly, fun-loving senator snapped his neck. His eyes metaphorically got black. He said, you don't need to know anything about that. And he snapped his neck and he walked into the tour bus, never to talk or approach me for the rest of the weekend. So let me ask you a question, because I'm Jon Stewart, the wrap-up artist. I got a video of a gray alien that's brown. He's got round eyes instead of almond. I've got a United States senator that I told an acronym on the bottom of the film of a military organization that doesn't exist, and he ripped my head off. And I've got a wife that's telling me that the husband, the medical doctor on The Creature's Right, never talked about his time in the medical corps. What would you do in 1999? And I'm like, I don't know.
Nuts investigating.
I'm at this campaign rally and there's reporters and everything. I'm like, I don't believe what just happened. And legitimate reporters, because I'm not a professional reporter, had told me, John, that we've had those moments where you're onto something, where you've touched the third rail and you've hit something. You've hit
my God.
Okay. I live life. I have kids. My wife and I, who I'm still married to for 22 years. If you want to give credit to anybody in this journey, credit that woman.
Shout out to your wife.
Up to 4 a.m. for 5 years watching documentaries in YouTube and writing notes with my pen that glows, that has a light at the end. So I write in the dark. Anyway, I just want to give my wife Joanne credit for that. She's just awesome. And so I living life and whatnot. And I'm in my driveway one day, and it's COVID. It's the first time I've had a day off without it being a vacation. I'm a freaking workaholic that I'm a recovering workaholic. I'm semi-retired. Yeah, don't be a workaholic, So I was, recovering workaholic. It's the first time I've had some days off because of COVID. And I'm in my car one time on the driveway, and I got really home early. I'm an automobile dealer, and a lot of my occupation is buying cars all over the Midwest at auction. So I had an early day and I'm in the driveway. I wasn't visited. I didn't hear things in my head. So we can, the keyboard warrior. I just simply got the feeling about this monitor. Unexplainable. I was busy, COVID, the world's collapsing, and I'm in my driveway and this monitor find out about it. I'm like, you know what? I have 4 hours to kill. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to figure out something about this monitor. And I can.
And you're referring to this monitor.
Yeah, right. Look at that weird monitor with the blip up and down, not horizontal. Okay. I find 3 professors that did a thesis on physiological monitors, the history of them. Do you know anybody more of an expert than people doing a thesis on it? I said,
No.
we have no idea what that monitor is. Let me repeat this. 3 professors, they're in Sweden. They did the history of physiological monitors. We have no idea what that is on the tape. Again, credit to my investigator, my tenacity. I then said, that doesn't solve anything. I called a special effects guy, the first one. He goes, well, it could be a laser on a servo. He goes, I'm like, come on, it's too thick. So my daughter and I get a pane of glass. We get Connect 4 brackets. We glue them to the pane of glass. I buy a green laser. I do the experiment. It kind of looked like it, but it was showing on the other side. It wasn't thick green or whitish that blip was. It was not, did not work. So I'm like, well, this is interesting. Now I call, again, folks, source upon source upon source. So I could tell you truthfully that I did the best job I could. I call Space Labs, not to be confused with Elon Musk SpaceX, and I call Hewlett Packard. Am I speaking slightly slow enough?
No, you're speaking fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I call both departments. Now, I'm a 56-year-old businessman. I know how business is. I know that crusty old men and women who've been in an industry forever are the best people sometimes to talk about with things you don't understand. This is in the stock.
If they're engineers, absolutely.
Exactly.
The old
car dealer that was a used car manager for 40 years. You don't think that guy doesn't know everything about the car? Okay, get my point. And again, another Seinfeld moment. Hi, this is the physiological department of Hewlett Packard. How can I help you? Oh, is there someone in your department that's old and crusty? Nobody likes him. He or she's probably got an office in the corner. Nobody wants to talk to him because they're grumpy. LeakYou, my right hand to God. He goes, oh, yeah. Hold on one second. What's me home? Again, the second time I do the phone cover, I'm like, holy shit, this is working. Jon Stewart, you're magic. All of a sudden I get, hello. And also I'm 14 years old selling magazine subscriptions. Hello, sir. My name's Jon Stewart. I have a question. Yeah. Have you ever seen a physiological monitor, no matter what it is, echocardiogram, oxygen, or the EKG? Have you ever in your life seen a physiological monitor where the blip, and I used to know the technical name of that blip, where that blip goes up and down, stays there, and is not horizontal? Never. Okay. Have you ever heard in 40 years of going to conferences about physiological monitors? I'm sure you've talked about stuff or seen stuff in the conceptual phase, right? Maybe this is he said, no, never. It's from 1952, the first start of a oscilloscope or whatever. Folks, I don't know the right. There is no physiological monitor where the blip stays in place and just jumps up and down. He was very specific with me. I said, well, that's really interesting. He goes, why? What are you looking at? I'm like, I'm looking at a very strange government video, and it's a physiological monitor, I think, but the blip stays in place and just goes up and down, not horizontal. LeakYou, third bombshell. He goes, well, that sounds like a one-off. I'm like, what? He goes, a one-off.
Wow.
One-off. He's like, well, if you're trying to figure out something, you're trying to solve a problem in the scientific community or any kind of community. Heck, and he said this, I build houses for a living and I have a problem with that and I can't find any device to help me. What most people do is design and build a one-off device that you've specially built to handle a certain situation.
Yep.
Folks, my right hand to God. I said, would you build a very unique physiological monitor to monitor a very weird heart of an extraterrestrial creature? My right hand to God. He goes, oh yeah, that's exactly what I would do, because you got nothing here that's gonna do that. Wow. And again, I'm like, oh my God, this
that's like your third holy shit.
Yeah, I'm like, this is maybe not gonna be as hard, and maybe I don't have. Maybe this isn't a big deal. Hang up the phone. Again, I want to be the credible journalist investigator. I call Space Labs, SpaceX. Space Labs is Elon Musk. Listen to this one. And Space Labs gets me on the phone, and they're like, this is the company that made every monitor for NASA. Okay? Did I do my job? And these are two companies, other than IBM a little bit, from the 90s till 2019, made physiological monitors. Same thing. Do you have anybody very experienced in the engineering department of monitors? Yes, hold on. Bum, 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 bum. Not an old guy, not young. I asked the same thing. He said, well, a cathode ray tube could not do that bouncing. And he said, man, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've never heard or seen of that at any point in my life. He goes, dude, you got a pen and paper with you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, take down this number. He gave me the name of a Spanish guy. He is a salesman of physiological monitors.
Oh, wow.
Call him. Tell Mario that I'm sending. Okay. Mario, hi, my name is Jon Stewart. I'm an investigator and blah, blah, blah. Mario, how long have you been selling physiological monitors? Oh, man, since like 1969 or whatever he said. Said, Mario, have you ever heard or seen a monitor where the blip goes up and down? And folks, I'm coming to the end of the monitor, but this is the thrust of my investigation. And he said, no. I said, have you ever seen it at a trade show? Have you heard about it in the wind with other guys when you're having a beer, all your other salesmen? He's like, no, the monitor, the blip always goes horizontally across the screen. Boom, hang up the phone. I'm like, okay. I'm in my car now, and I'm like, wait a minute. United States Senator snaps my head off. I've got a video that isn't Hollywood produced. They're not trying to hide anything. I've got a widow that says her husband was creepy, mysterious, never talked about anything to do with his occupation. And I have a team of PhDs and two physiological monitor engineers from the only companies that made physiological monitors, everybody telling me we don't know what you're looking at. And that has not been manufactured. Okay? Wow. You can say they're all lying. It's the grand hoax of Jon Stewart, whatever. I'm telling you what happened. So now, this is 19. Now I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, again, I've got to break into a now I'm going on a deep dive.
Yeah.
I'm tenacious. I said, now I got to break into a facility 30 years in the past. It's the most high-tech, secure facility in the planet. And I'm probably thinking that 95% of my witnesses, I found out correctly, yes, are dead.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give it the try. So park, it's a great, cute little story that should be part of a movie. I'm on the park bench, and my black lab is flushing bushes, trying to get birds to scare up or squirrels and everything. You know, again, folks, I know a lot of people haven't heard of me because I've not been an investigator in the forefront of ufology. I'm Bob Lazar in 1989. So I'm like, well, how? I don't know anybody. I don't have any names. I don't have numbers. I mean, maybe I can write some names down from documentaries. And I'm watching my dog, and I'm like, wait a minute, bird dogging. This is what I have to do. I got to go out and bird dog. I got to put myself out on podcasts or YouTube shows and try and get this journey, this investigation to metastasize, the Oprah effect, put it out in the airwaves. Maybe somebody that watches me, because I heard this from several people. If you think the military or certain low-level members of the FBI, the military, don't watch paranormal conspiracy shows on YouTube and Apple and podcasts, you are fooling yourself. I could get someone to come forward. So I go on Carrie Cassidy's show, Project Camelot. This was 5 years ago. She gives me a name of a guy named Andrew Burlington in England. He was stiff with me for like 3 months. And you'll hear in my investigation, this happened a lot of people that wanted to help me that tested me for months. So finally, Andrew warms up to me, and he's on Facebook under Victor Nevada. We've had a falling out of a disagreement over, and I got a witness wrong, or I put words in her mouth, and I am admitting that. But I was excited because I thought she was the real Victor's ex-girlfriend.
Right.
But anyways, we'll go into that too. But finally writes back, he said, you really need to just look at my Facebook page. Look at the videos where he slow-mos the video frame by frame. And what he shows is absolutely jaw-dropping. The orbital socket around the creature, remember, this is a low-budget, second-tier video production company in Southern California, putting this on the UPN network through Reicher Entertainment. And according to Sean Morton, who was a producer, Reicher didn't have the money to pay their employees for the first 4 episodes of Strange Universe. So if you think this is a Daddy Warbucks, Steven Spielberg operation, it ain't. And that's an indication that this is government sponsored. Okay, folks? Because no one had the pockets that it took. What we've been told to create that doll back in 1991, no one, or 96, because that's when the documentary came out, no one had the upwards of $150,000 to create that doll. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So,
and you see the skin moving as the beans. Yeah.
So yes, keyboard warriors. And I'm being combative, but forgive me. Yes, there is pixelation that I have seen close up where the pixels look like skin movement. Andrew shows the eye goes from round to round on the top and flat on the bottom. From flat on the bottom back to round again. For the eye, for the orbital skin, I would say, the orbital socket skin to go up and down in small, minute movement. So I ask everyone out there, we're faking this video, right? We're hoaxing this video. We're the worst producers in the world because the doctors don't have biohazard suits. They got their short sleeve scrubs. LeakYou's pissed off because we've got an alien that's brown and round eyebrows.
It's supposed to be gray.
Yeah, and now we heard the eye skin movement, microscopic skin movement would take like $3,000 to $7,000. So with no money and people not seeing this until 30 years later, you're telling me that the producers then wrote a check
about that?
Like people for another $7,000 to make that eyebrow move because Andrew Burlington's going to see that 30 years from now. Does that even sound? I mean, do I sound like an idiot even saying that? I mean, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
You got to go on Andrew's website on Facebook.
I will.
Again, I totally give Andrew and Jaime Musan, the journalist in Mexico.
I love Jaime Musan. I just wish he'd get English subtitles on his YouTube channel so I could watch it.
Yeah, these two men were the ones that kind of pushed me off the cliff, and the bird had a flap. Jon Stewart had to flap his wings. So never failed to give those two credit. So now I get a hold of Jaime Musan. Jaime, I heard you did research on the monitor. He said, John, I took the monitor to 13 heart surgeons, thoracic cardio surgeons. Maybe that's the same thing. I don't know. But cardiologists, 13 of them all said that monitor is showing a cardiac arrhythmia, a cardiac event. And he goes, and 6 of the surgeons have said that creature's cough is syncing up perfectly with the blip going up in distress.
Interesting.
And they don't understand how a puppeteer could move the creature in sync with the guy doing the laser beam, because remember, we're hoaxing this.
Right.
The guy with the laser beam moving it up and down. So these two are in cahoots? Come on. I mean, let's do the Occam's razor. The simplest solution is usually the correct one. Mm-hmm. So now, again, McCain, the PhD guys, the wife, the engineers, Andrew Burlington, Jaime Musan. I'm like, what am I getting into here? Then the trail went dead. I got Andrew Burlington. Now I know something is afloat. So I'm going to get the dates right because, God forbid, Jon Stewart doesn't get date rights. So it is Memorial Weekend 2021. Very important I get these dates correct. I go on Jeff Rentz. I don't know who has children out there, but do you ever swear on their souls? And if you did, you'd have to be telling the truth. Correct?
Absolutely.
I am swearing, and I shouldn't, on my children's souls. 3 days before the Jeff Rentz interview, where I am going to bring, and I am writing this to Jeff, I'm going to bring this information about this alien interview out to the public. And I've been communicating with Jeff for like 3 years, giving him tidbits. And I'm writing these very hyperbolic emails that the world is going to know what's going on. My wife and I are in the UP. Upper Michigan. Folks, you have Lower Michigan to the right of Lake Michigan, and then above Wisconsin is another Michigan called Upper Michigan. I'm not even being funny. Oh, what Upper Michigan is. We're at our summer home in Upper Michigan. I make a turn onto a gravel road. My iPhone does a blip, a blue, white, and then it goes back to like my regular screen. And I go to text or email Jeff Rentz back I'm going to be specific here, all of my read but not deleted emails from 4 servers. My dad's AOL, because I get his email for business, my AOL, iCloud, and Google all were wiped off my phone. The read but not deleted emails. I can send a screenshot to people. The oldest email I have is 5/21 or 2 days before Memorial Day on 2021. All these great emails of my uncle's pictures in Vietnam who died and stuff like that, and of course the investigation. Wow. So I go on the program with Jeff Rentz. We do a great interview. Andrew Burlington takes the interview and puts B-roll in it and pictures and overlays, and everybody's on the same page. It's just doing a great job. And I get an email, and I've called him different names. I think the best name is called the chairman. I get an email, and the email address is numbers. LeakYou, we've talked about this today. And he simply says, I heard your interview on Jeff Rentz. I was very impressed. You seem to be, a legitimate investigator trying to do the best job you can. And I'd like to chat with you further in the future. Okay. I don't hear from him for a month. Remember,
right. Yeah.
I'm getting monthly emails from him. Now I'm not going to Da Vinci Code this. I'm not Robert Lincoln, so I'm not going to tell you the one secret. He gave me like a puzzle, like a wording puzzle to solve, to see what kind of intellect I had. But I'm not going Robert Lincoln. So next month I get an email, and it's just hey, how's the investigation going? And I'm being guarded because was this guy with military? Is this guy an insider? Is it just whoever? And next month, it was the 9th month, and we started building up a repertoire of conversations. And I open up my email. It's Friday. It's like when Kennedy got shot. I'm at the Southland Lincoln Oasis outside of Gary, Indiana, in Illinois, though. And I open up my email, and it says, from the horse's mouth. And I open it up, and my hand starts shaking. I see 5 names of military men because it's captain, vice admiral, captain, doctor. And I'm like, holy shit. It's got the date of that filming, which Victor got wrong, which I feel Victor purposely said wrong to distance himself from ever being anywhere in that facility. And my hand is shaking. It's like, it's like you're seeing, I can't describe it. It's an elation. It's a voyeurism thing. Like, am I allowed to see these men's names? And I'm like, wait a minute, they didn't do anything.
Like the only person in the world that has that information.
Well,
at that moment too.
The only civilian at this point, I think.
Right.
So now I tell my wife, I'm like, I got the email. I know everyone's names. She's like, all right, come come home. So I call my lawyer. He goes, send me a copy. I'll put it in the vault. I mean, you have to be careful because I don't know where this is going. So I send a copy to my lawyer, his secretary, Melissa. She puts it in his vault so he has one. So I go home and I start vetting the names because, again, I'm trying to do my job. I just don't take an email for granted. I'm not.
That's right.
Yeah. So the first name, first name is a Colonel blah, blah, blah. Okay. I go on the internet, retired at the time of the filming. I'm like, well, this is a hoax. That's it. Jon Stewart's been punked. Now I look at his bio. He, after his military career, became a contractor for TRW. Now I go on Google. I know TRW, I'm a car dealer. They did credit reports. They did a lot more than credit reports. They did contour mapping for the United States government. They are so neck deep in black projects that they rub elbows with EG&G Dynatrend, Raytheon and Lockheed. So I'm like, holy shit, he was a contractor at the time. And that's why he was in that room. I go to the next guy. Rear Admiral, blah, blah, blah. I Google it. The Wikipedia page comes up with his picture. And it's from the 80s, and I'm getting jeebies. Like, and you know, a lot of UFO people won't tell you their inner self, the real, oh, this is what happened. I'm not like, I was starting to get creeped out. I'm like, do I have the right to? And a very distinguished vice admiral with intelligence credentials, if I can.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to this whole journey real soon. Again, vetting everything I can. Captain, blah, blah, blah. Naval intelligence. Wikipedia. It's a picture from the 80s. His naval Class A dress uniform on. Retired vice admiral. I'm like, well, that's it. Hoax. I've been duped. This guy didn't even know what his rank is. He's a vice admiral. I'm talking to my friend 4 minutes later. He's like, dummy. That report obviously must be from when the tape was stolen. That was 91. He was probably a captain in 91. And then I'm like, oh my God. He goes, that even proves it even more that it must have some provenance of being real or at least using real people. He goes, how could you find out this guy was a captain in 91 and think of that to write that down? I'm not that smart. Now, the next one is Dr. blah, blah, blah. And in parentheses, scientist question mark, like the DIA. I'm sorry, folks. This allegedly came right off a DIA report. And it didn't say theft, film theft. It was called an unauthorized viewing. How can I make that up? I don't even know. But that's a great terminology because theft, then everyone gets in trouble. So it says doctor or scientist. So I Google him. He's a doctor in Connecticut. Now, are you ready? Are you ready for bombshell number 5? The doctor's name, who is still living, practicing in Connecticut. What do you think he did in 1991? Now, remember, this alien is coughing. It's having a respiratory issue.
Don't tell me pulmonary.
Okay, pulmonary issue. Yeah, yes, ma'am. I Google him. I get his office. He's got the lab coat on. He's the doctor. What did he do? I get his bio. In 1991, he worked for the VA. Hello. And what did he do for the VA? He was a pulmonologist.
Wow.
How could you even think?
You couldn't.
Putting down that you really don't know him because there was the question mark. You thought he was a scientist. Now, then we go to the doctor from California who's dead. And I've given you that story, so we can save some time. Talked to his wife, his widow. He never talked about his time in the Army Medical Corps. And John, now I know why. Then we go down, and I can't say this yet because I don't want to Robert Langdon this. You people, you folks, you kind folks that are listening and viewing, I just don't want to take this into the Da Vinci Code. But there were the interpreters, there were 2 of them, and they had a vocation. Am I kind of alluding? And it's a weird place where they had this vocation. And it's very funny because Victor does say that the telepath program was a joke. And that they were getting people one step higher than 1-800 charlatans on late night TV. Now, a second whistleblower, and I'm not jumping forward. Let's just talk about these 2 telepaths.
Yeah.
Here's the conversation. I'm splicing. But you know something, John? This is a whistleblower. You know something, John? There were 2 men. They were so adept at getting information from these creatures. This is verbatim. This is a verbatim conversation. That they would sit down in the chair in front of the being, and they would turn back in like 3 seconds. Oh, it's the Pleiades that he's from. And he says that the room that he's in is not dark enough. Oh, and by the way, he doesn't really want to have communication with the guy that was before. And he said it was incredible. The military brass were awestruck that these 2 men of vocation.
Telepathic. There's a glass casing between these telepaths in this being.
That's correct. And they call it thought projection. Was not called telepathy. It was thought projection. You didn't consciously think of what was in your brain. I've been told it was just in your brain.
It just gets pushed in there.
So here are the names of 2 people, a whistleblower who I think was giving me third party information is backing up what this email said. And I'm like, this happened a lot in my investigation, where a guy with information from the 60s is repeating what a guy in the 90s is saying. They've never met, they've never been on YouTube, they don't know each other. And this kind of stuff was really interesting how things overlap. So now I'm like, oh my God. So I see the date. It's the wrong date that Victor gave. So I'm going to give you the bombshell, because there's another bombshell.
Oh
Victor
my
said,
gosh.
well, it was an electronic form that I snuck it out of S4. And I'm thinking to myself, this is where I'm going to prove it hoax. You go in S4 underground and you go out of S4 butt naked. I'm going to be base here. That means a male medic sees your penis, you spread your butt cheeks. And if you're a female medic sees your vagina, your butt cheeks, you are naked. You go naked in, you go naked out. You are not smuggling a CD-ROM. Mm-hmm. And I said, this is where I'm going to prove the hoax. If I just keep going, there is no way anything is let out of this facility. Although Victor does say, and I believe him, I have no facts with this. I have no testimony to this other than Victor. But for him to say this on camera, and he's pissed about it, that they had this no personal objects allowed in this lab, yet people were still bringing in, little elf dolls, or, the little caveman with the, Rubik's cubes and stuff like that. And that really pissed Victor off, the lack of that protocol. But there ain't nothing getting out of that facility. Nothing. Except you and your uniform and your weighed. And what you ate for dinner or lunch is weighed. And the contents missing are weighed to make sure that you have, 0.5.
I've heard this.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard this, and Dolce and other facilities too.
You're not getting out if I'm driving the crack of your ass, but I have to say this. And because if I can't be credible if I'm going at it trying to prove it's real. I'm credible if I'm trying to prove that it's a hoax. I believe so. Mm-hmm. So now I'm reading down in the facility. Well, I found out how the tape was removed. It was Ocean's 11. Remember how Ocean's 11, the casino, let the money be wheeled out of the casino? Yes. So it simply says the interview was terminated due to the creature having a medical issue. A United States Air Force policeman then escorted the U.S. Air Force cameraman back to the Groom Lake Photo Lab. They didn't say Area 51. To the Groom Lake Photo Lab, where 3 days later, why would you say 3 days later? Just tell me. But this is from the report. And military people and scientists are specific. It's just something that I've learned. 3 days later, 2 copies were made. Okay, here we go. Here's the, I'm being Agatha Christie here. One copy was placed into a GSA burn bag. I didn't even know what the GSA is. I now found out it's the Government Services Administration. These are the people that do the trash, mop the floors. It was taken into a GSA burn bag, and that is how it left Area 51. The reporter trying to be there ain't nothing leaving Area 51. I have spoken to 3 people who had very basic jobs at Area 51, and they all said, oh, yes, you can. There were various days and various security people, folks, don't believe me, go vet it yourself, where you could smuggle out things in your pocket. They didn't look through your gym bag, and I'm alluding to something. They didn't look in your gym bag very carefully, and there were certain days with certain guards that wore lax. I mean, we're human. This is, they're not going
to seeing someone every day. Yeah,
exactly. This is Area 51. This is not this underground, high-tech facility. It's Area 51. We're testing the stealth, and, and I'm being glib, but this is what the indication that I got. So I'm like, okay, now I know how it was let out. Well, we're going to burn this, and it's the cameraman's the hero. And I don't know, and I'm not going to blow anything here, but we have still don't know what his name is. It was the cameraman who then, according to the DIA report, and I'm going to say his name, but there's nothing on him in the internet except his birth and his tombstone. His name was Joseph Yeager, and find out it's Joseph Yeager Jr. And he was from Texas, and he was the person, according to the DIA, he's not Victor, but I thought he wasn't. So I'm going to get you into my big bluster that got Andrew Burlington pissed at me. But that Joseph Yeager helped the United States Air Force cameraman sell this to Rocket Pictures. And another report came in and said, we believe that Yeager what else could you do? What else can you do? Now, remember, this is, I got the From the Horse's Mouth report in March. And so it was, I'm guessing, I don't remember the date, but it was about 6 to 2 months later, I had my wife contact Rick Doty on Facebook. There is no bombshell here. And Rick Doty has been a block of granite for this investigation with helping me with the nomenclature, the vernacular, backing up that or Doty was the one, I'm sorry, that told me you're going to be a hero in the UFO community. It's S2. It's S2. It's not S4. Doty's, now listen, the misinfo guy. I've never been down in S4 levels. I've only been to the second level of Annex 2. The only live alien as part of a government facility that I've seen was on closed circuit TV. Okay, Rick, is the Victor fiasco video real? Of course it is. I'm like, okay, changing my life right now. He's like, why did I lie to you? He goes, I was going to lie to you. I would tell you that it was a hoax and, oh God. And I know the producer, Doty's goes, and that was not filmed at S4, John. That was filmed at the alien housing complex under S2. I'm like, the alien what? He goes, the
housing
alien
complex?
That's what he goes, you know what? If I'm lying, Dan Burrish, he goes, and I don't know Dan Burrish, but Dan Burrish gave the entire blueprint to Michael Schatt. I'm like, I've talked to Michael Schatt before. He goes, go look at those blueprints. You tell me if there's a viewing gallery. Well, sure enough, I look at Dan Burrish, who was supposedly was an S4, Project Aquarius, with Michael Schatt, great guy, lives in Illinois. I don't see any viewing gallery. I'm like, Doty's telling me the truth. Doty is telling me the truth. Beautiful. I'm matching up information. And so Rick, help me with the nomenclature. What did this? Doty did not know Yeager. Doty knew vaguely the vice admiral on the list. Knew nobody else on the list. Why would you lie about that? Wouldn't you say, "Oh, women, I know." Mm-hmm. And then Doty goes, John, Wendell Stevens is part of this too. I'm like, what, hoax? He's like, no. Victor went to Wendell Stevens, befriended him, just like Connor O'Ryan, the Navy SEAL. And Wendell Stevens at one point had that 16 millimeter film. I'm like, wait a minute, it wasn't VHS? He said, no. What you saw was 16 millimeter film, very important here, folks, that was transferred to VHS by Victor. Andrew Burlington has a watermark of a Gateway computer in 96. Now, Andrew thinks it was done CD-ROM. I've been told by now 3 people it was a 16 millimeter film transferred to VHS. He said the government filmed every important thing on 16 millimeter film. I'm not saying there was another camera in there, but it was 16 millimeter film that did slowly dissipate and go away and turn to VHS in the early 90s. But that 1990 video was 16 millimeter. And I said, well, what can you tell me? He goes, John, there's a couple of Victors. I'm like, Rick, don't do this to me. He goes, no, John, listen. I know the Victor you're talking about who spoke on camera. I'm like, okay. He goes, he's real. He goes, but there was another person, actually like a cabal, that conspired to bring material out. Rick didn't say the film. Rick didn't material out of S4. I said, Rick, how could people get stuff out of S4? I mean, I went over the report with him. He didn't know any of the names, except that vice admiral. But he said, well, there were official clusters of bundles of packets that were, like the bank money in Ocean's 11 that were, okay, this is the official moving of documents, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, and Wendell Stevens from Victor had a cache of documents that never got released. He said, FOIA, this is Doty. He goes, do this. I'd be interested. Go to the FBI and FOIA. The FBI raided Bob Dean's, I'm giving you bombshells here, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Dean's bank vault at Paradise Valley, Arizona. Doty gives me the bank because Doty, is in the loop of intelligence.
He is, yes.
Wendell, and so he knows the story, So I'm like, okay, I FOIA it. I get an email back from the FBI. You're not Bob Dean. We can't give you any information on Bob Dean. So Doty, and Andrew thinks that Doty gave me everything. He didn't give me hardly anything. But Rick said, look, it's real. It's 16 millimeter. And he goes, and I was driving with Wendell Stevens one day from the second Victor's house in Oceanside, California. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to the second Victor. And he said, Wendell looked at me, he goes, Victor is a brilliant scientist, but I wouldn't be friends with him for 5 seconds.
I get that from his interview.
Now, you can get that through the interview.
Yes.
But now his friend is saying that about him. Remember this for when I talk about the director, Jeff Broadstreet, because Jeff doesn't know any of what I have talked about. Okay. So now, I'm like, what is Doty talking about? A second Victor, Oceanside, California. It's a couple of weeks later. I'm doing a deep dive on my computer. The wife's asleep to my right. And all of a sudden I see, I think the website is Bible Apocalypse. It's from like 1993. It's like a
cool. Yeah.
It's a horrible website. And I'm scrolling and all of a sudden I see an email from 99. So, or maybe it was even earlier, I don't know the exact date, from a guy named Major Thomas Mack. And he's writing Bill Bossman, and it's taken right off a computer. This isn't hoaxer. And it simply says, I was the project leader of Project Aquarius in S4. And and blah, blah, blah. I don't know the specific document you're talking about. Yes, Captain Danny Burrish was down there with me. You know what? You should also look up a guy. He was our counterintelligence officer. His name was Rick Doty. He's retired, but he's a New Mexico state trooper. What am I reading?
Wow.
Now, still doing the layers of research. Now I scroll up. Thomas Mack's son sends a picture of his dad at Area 51 in 71, 73. It looks like a summer camp with white buildings and painted white rocks on a pathway. And it's Major Thomas Mack. And boom, I call up Doty. I'm like, who is Thomas Mack? He goes, so you found the other Victor? I'm like, wait. He goes, well, listen to me, folks. He goes, Tom Mack was beloved. I said, it kind of seemed like that from his email. Doty goes, he was one of the most beloved military people that I've ever worked with, worked under. And Johnny was a great guy. And I said, well, I could see that from the email. And folks, I've been in pro wrestling, the car business. I'm 56 years old. I'm from Chicago. I know bullshit when bullshit walks. And Doty goes, what email? I said, the email from Thomas Mack. And Rick's like, what email? I said, do you not know that you're on an email in 1997 that Thomas Mack wrote a guy named Bill Bossman? And Rick's like, no, what did he say about me? I'm like, no, he complimented you that you were. He's like, oh, that's nice to hear because I really like Tom. And I visited Tom in Oceanside, California. I said, is he the guy in Oceanside? And he's like, yes, he is the other guy. It was a group of 4 to 5 individuals that were disgruntled. It started with the Navy SEAL that went with Wendell Stevens in 1990 because his debit card wouldn't work and he got pissed off and he camped out at Jim Delatoso's house in Arizona, and it was some weird stuff. And so Rick Doty is like, it's known in the intelligence community. There was disgruntled people, that try to get stuff out. I looked more on the Thomas Mack email, and I have information that could really embarrass the government. 2 years after that email was from 99. A year later, Thomas Mack's dead of a cerebral hemorrhage.
Interesting.
Family said it's in the gene. So I'm being a legit researcher here. I could be hyperbolic and say, see, they're killing people. Mm-hmm. Family said that is a common ailment genetically in their family. So let's just leave it at that. So here we go. So now I'm like, wait a minute. I'm trying to get my lineage here. So I'm like, Rick, thank you so much. He's like, look, if you need any help, just email me. He goes, I'm retired. I teach math online, which I thought was kind of
really. Like, how does he teaches math online?
Yeah, I mean,
that's cool.
Kind of charming,
He's got so many incredible stories. I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
So now I take the investigation to Don Schmidt, and Don Schmidt is one of these, 1962 B film noir, guys like a detective, and he's sitting in a Wisconsin restaurant reading the entire report, and his eyes are spinning like, watermelons on a slot machine. This is just an anecdotal story that I want to share with people. And he looked at me, he goes, you got to start being really careful now. You have crossed the line. Mm-hmm. And I don't trouble. He goes, but you have crossed the line now. If this is real, you have information that surpasses the Thomas Wilson memo, which I think a lot of people, know about. He goes, you have names. I've never heard of these people. This looks real. Just be careful. He gives me a 5-minute lecture of keeping my hands on the table wherever I'm out in public. I'm not to talk to strange women. That he believed that they would try and set me up with something.
Oh,
That was-
yeah.
Don Schmidt is not creepy, but his 5-minute warning seminar, whistleblower warning seminar, which I appreciate that he told me, was creepy. Keep your hands on the thing. You don't talk to women. You're going to be in airports. People are going to come up to you and try and engage you. Don't talk to anyone. And if you talk to anyone, don't say anything. You know, be the wow. I walked out. I had the melons in my eyes, the slot machine eyes when I walked out of that. So Don gets back to me a week later. Don's got a very close contact in the Pentagon. Another not cute, but another weird anecdotal story. Listen to me. The colonel at the Pentagon, he goes, what does this kid do for a living? And Don's kid, he's in his 60s. I'm in my 50s. It was nice to be called kid. He goes, he runs a family car dealership. He goes, you tell him this. The Pentagon's like that car dealership. In the front of the car dealership, we're me and all my colleagues, we're selling cars and we're selling warranties and we're greeting customers and we're doing commercials. And he goes, but there's a hallway in this car dealership and it's a really long hallway. None of us have ever been down it because we're not allowed to go down it. And if you ever do go down it, you're not to knock on the door. You're not to open the door at the end, and you're certainly not to ask any questions at the end. And I know you see people going in the back of the dealership, trucks and personnel. You are not to ask anything about that. He goes, you tell that kid, that's what my life was like at the Pentagon. I know something's going on. My colleagues who've been in Vietnam and are war heroes, they know what's going on, but we aren't allowed to ask or question it. It is beyond our grasp. And people are pissed off about it at the Pentagon. That's a verbatim story from a colonel at the Pentagon. So something to digest that. There is a little bloodless Civil War
Going on.
Kind of West Side Story, Sharks and the Jets taking place at the Pentagon. And this is a story that I keep hearing. So that was pretty good information from Don Schmidt, who's probably one of the most credible people and one of the nicest men in our community of research and investigators, and has been like an uncle to me. It's just been a great guy with a tremendous amount of support.
Do you think any of that is possibly driving disclosure?
It is, and I'm gonna get to that because that's another where I cross stories from two different people. So again, keep going. I don't care what Don Schmidt's guy said. Keep going. So now I'm like, well, I got to ask the only person that's met Victor face to face, the director, Jeff Broadstreet, who met him face to face twice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no one is coming forward saying, I met Victor. Wendell Stevens died, so I couldn't call him or contact him, to my regret. So I talked to Jeff Broadstreet, very guarded and Hollywood stiff,
Oh yeah.
There's a, your guy in England really bothers me too much. I don't need to know every step of the investigation. I'm like, okay, I get you. I said, Jeff, look, I'm desperate. Tell me something. He's like, I'm not, John, if I tell you anything, I'm violating a 35-year NDA, non-disclosure agreement. I said, but I've talked to Tom Coleman, the owner of Rocket Pictures, who also said that I didn't hire this team of animatronic guys. I didn't hire Victor. This guy came out of the blue. I'm going to say that. So I paid Jeff Broadstreet $500, and he tells me Victor's first name, which it's a weird first name, a very 1930s, 40s, 50s first name. Very weird, thank God, because that's how I was able to research this. But then he went on a little bit. In a Chicago detective, the first human being I ever talked to about this journey, his name was Sergeant Bill Giaconotti. He's been on CBS Morning, Sunday morning. He's a famous police officer in Chicago. He goes, John, never underestimate people's willing to talk. They want to talk. They want to talk. I don't care if it's about aliens or the mafia. People love to talk. So Jeff writes, I can tell you this. He appeared to be off the grid. He did not present a driver's license, but a tattered Social Security card, and he was a pain in the ass. He was very difficult to work with. Now, I got Wendell Stevens saying this. I got Rick Doty telling me Wendell. I've got the director that met him that is also saying this. So we've got some matches. Now I find a former FBI agent that was helping us on a serial murder documentary, which has been dropped. And he watches the Victor tape and for lie detection, truth deception. And I sent this to you, LeakYou, earlier today. An FBI analyst said about the Victor interviews. He watched all three of them, Art Bell and the two documentaries. I sense a high degree of stress. Okay, a high degree of stress, and Victor appears very pendactic. And I said, what is pendactic? And he said, pendactic is a behavior characteristic that is very common amongst scientists and engineers and scholars. You know, John, when you're in the lab, it just can't be a dash of mercury and, 3 splashes of thallium. Scientists have to be specific.
Exactly.
And he said, and it's that personality. I said, give me an example. He's like, well, if I sent you out, to check the oil on the car, and you came back and you said, Dad, I checked around the car, it was fine. I didn't tell you to check around the car. I told you to check the oil. And that's all I told you to do. That type of personality trait. So I'm like, okay, this FBI guy is telling me that this Victor sounds legit to him. Now I go back and I ask Carrie Cassidy. I said, Carrie, you're an expert in whistleblowers. What did you make of the Victor? Now, Carrie didn't know that I talked to this FBI guy. She said the same thing. She's like, well, Victor had a dark sense of humor. And he did make some, dumb jokes about having a Bushmills shot because he was nervous, and something about food being brought down and the dumb waiters that he wouldn't talk about. And Carrie said, John, I've interviewed more whistleblowers than probably anyone in America. And she has. She's like, if Victor isn't a whistleblower, I need to go quit what I'm doing, because then I'm totally wrong. He had dark humor. You can tell he was stressed. You can tell he was guarded. Somebody said on the Art Bell interview, he was doing a lot of and I'm like, yes, he was giving answers and processing them in his brain to make sure that they weren't, revealing who he was.
Yes.
So I would be umming and Ralph Cramden, too. So again, I'm 4 years into this. I can't find anyone that tells me it's a hoax. Now I start going into Hollywood. I've got about 19 people I know in Hollywood. Have you ever heard anyone had anything to do with this video, folks? The braggers of the braggers are in Hollywood. Pool parties, award ceremonies, after parties, sets, everybody's, I did this, I worked with Kevin Costner. For no one in 30 years of any credibility to come forward to say, I did the catering, right? I did the accounting. I helped rent the studio for the B-roll. They made a fake alien video of B-roll for the documentary. I hired the actors. I got the costumes. I'm the one that worked on. You mean to tell me
I painted the skin?
Had ever come forward 30 years later with that puppet to say, I'm pretty good, aren't I? Give me a freaking break. So I'm like, shit, I can't find anyone. Now I contact Sean Morton. Why did I not think of this sooner? Sean talked to Victor on the phone. He's talked to Connor O'Ryan, again, the Navy SEAL sentry that claimed he was down in S4. And Sean Morton said the same thing. John, there was no money. Reicher couldn't pay people. What you're seeing would have had to have cost $150,000, $160,000. They didn't, what do you think they paid Victor? They probably paid Victor $25,000. Listen to me, folks. Sean Morton, he goes, John, I was at Rocket Pictures the day Victor called. And I heard Tom Coleman, the owner, on the speaker phone say, Jeff Broadstreet, can you pick this up, talk to this guy? So Victor called out of the blue. He wasn't an actor. He comes in, and Sean tells me Victor went to Fox Network on Sepulveda Boulevard. They couldn't guarantee his safety. They gave him the bum's rush. You can hear his impish story, how embarrassed he was on the Art Bell show. He walks across the street from Fox Studios, and there's a huge newsstand at Sepulveda, kitty corner from Fox. How could I make this up? Or Sean Morton make this up? Listen, he picks up Variety magazine. He's trying to sell a video to a production company. He sees the Tim Conway, the midget golfing, where Tim Conway would sit on his knees and play golf. And Rocket Pictures is selling this video, and he said, well, this is goofy enough. Maybe they'll listen to me. And that is how Victor got a hold of Rocket Pictures, through a magazine, a Tim Conway VHS tape that Rocket Pictures was selling in Variety. How about that for investigation?
That's
yeah. Isn't that interesting? Kudos to Morton. And let me tell you
No, to your investigation as well.
Don't listen to Sean Morton. Why? He's been investigated by the IRS. My dad's been investigated by the IRS, audited in 1988. My dad's the straightest shooting businessman in Chicago. And a lot of business people get investigated by the IRS.
Oh, yeah.
Take them to be total frauds.
No.
I was a blogger for 20 years, a con man in the professional wrestling industry. I faked injuries. I faked emotion. I faked my bio. I faked where I was born. I faked if I was mad at my opponent. I was a con man. Am I a con man now?
No.
Okay. Same thing with Doty. He's like, I was a misinformation. I was a counterintelligence officer. I was paid. This was my job.
They won't let him live. Like, they give him such a hard time.
He goes, nobody will let me live this down. I think this information has to come out. What, because of what I did in the 80s? Now, all of a sudden, I can't give any information on the UFO phenomenon? It's crazy. So
insane.
So Sean Morton, I talk about my wife, Don Schmidt, Michael Carter, Reverend Michael Carter, who's on Ancient Aliens, my conciliaire through this whole journey, telling me this, don't do this, be quiet, don't yell at this. Angel, Sean Morton, my lowest points, it was Carrie Cassidy, Sean Morton, my agent Sean West, that were like, keep going. Don't give up, keep going. And little funny stories Sean would tell me, Sean Morton has been a gem for this investigation, and I could not, with any conscience, not mention him talking to you. So now I have all this information, right? I'm gonna have to start making my own documentary. I've got about 30 hours that I filmed, 30 to 40 hours that I filmed, but nowhere near what you would need to put a whole documentary together. So Scott Walter, and I have to be very careful here, and I'm not being hyperbolic or creepy or weird. I have to be very careful here, out of respect and out of legal. Scott Walter supposedly, which is true, has a contact that works for an alphabet agency with the government. And it took a year to have this man finally call me. Again, the vet process, the slow roll. And this man is acutely aware of the alien phenomenon in his agency. Very nice gentleman. He goes by a name of a person in literature. I'm not being Da Vinci Code here, but he was one of my deep throats. But he really didn't tell me anything, but I'm going to throw another bombshell. So he said, I just want you to know a couple of things. Number one, next time someone sends you anything, here's what you ask them. Is this top secret? Is this classified information? Because if it is, don't send it to me. Great advice. Great advice. Okay. Number two, tell you when you can realize something is real from the filmed by the government. This STMP mark, the little mark where the minutes, seconds. He goes, yeah, VHS recorders have that, but motion picture, that started in the 30s in motion picture. He goes, when you see a video of a UFO or an alien, and it's got the STMP stamp, that's about 99% legit. I'm like, oh, that's great. He goes, John, I also want to I don't want to wreck your bubble because I don't know. He said, also remember, when the government wants to disseminate information to the public, sometimes they recreate the event, whether it be a landing, a video of a UFO, maybe an alien. He goes, I don't ever discount that can't be what your video is. I said, but it doesn't make any sense. They have people blocking the camera. Mm-hmm. There's no instructions on the screen of when an alien is in distress.
Right.
And he goes, no, I'm just letting you know that oftentimes, in order to get plausible deniability, the government will film something and put it out, and then they can say, well, it's fake. We didn't violate anything. Very interesting. He goes, I'm going to give you one bombshell, just like Doty with S2. He goes, there's a new name for aliens in the government. I'm like, and he goes, and you will be the only person that knows this. And I'm like, this is awesome. And again, I'm an entertainer. So I've got, the next day I'm going to be on Good Morning America with George Stephanopoulos, and I'm going to be the Jeremy Coble, Bob Lazar, George.
Right. The security 10.
I'm such a dork. He goes, the new designation Here we go, folks. Strap it on. Strap
All
it
right,
on.
here we go.
Saber. I'm like, okay, what is Saber? Saber is synthetic, astrobiological, extraterrestrial races. Now, there's more than Jon Stewart that knows that. That is, he said, if you want people at the Pentagon to start falling off their chairs, to start, doing a spit take like they're on Three's Company from the 70s in bed with their wife, you mention Saber and your heads will spin because nobody knows.
Synthetic, say it again. Synthetic,
astrobiological, extraterrestrial races. This is what
that's incredible.
Many
Jon.
of the folks, I was the only one for 3 months that knew this. Okay,
Wow.
Here's the Da Vinci Code music starting. I said, so-and-so, let's call him Gatsby because that's a name from literature. No, I didn't read the book. I saw the movie, so don't bother me. I was chasing women sophomore year. I was reading The Great Gatsby. So I said, could you come on my documentary if I make one? He said, okay, send me a list of your questions, everything about you and the cameraman. I'll give it to my commanding officer. And LeakYou, they were sensational questions. I mean, I was going to end the whole conversation. Are aliens real? Has the government since 1900 had any contact, retention, interrogated any kind of off-planet, interdimensional being? Because they could escape if those.
That's right.
They were interdimensional. That's why we told Jon Stewart no. So I was putting out some fire-breathing questions. He said, I'm going to get back to you tomorrow, the next day. A week, 2 weeks, a month. Now I'm getting into George Costanza panic, literally.
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks, 7 weeks. I'm texting Scott Walter, who is the most kindest, straight shooting guy that's ever been on TV. I'm like, Scott, what is going on? Scott's kind of not writing me back. There is a reporter, a national reporter. I'm not going to say the name or the gender. And I'm like, because I connected that person with Gatsby too, because let's all do this together.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she goes, oh shit, I said her gender.
That's okay.
That reporter ghosts me. Now I'm shitting in my pants. I'm 276 pounds. I'm 6'1".
Oh, wow.
I don't, scare that easy. Now I'm like, oh my God. Now I write the letter, email to Scott. Scott, I'm a gentleman. I treated Gatsby with respect on every level. I haven't blabbed anything. I haven't told anybody anything. All I want to know is he alive? Is he all right? And am I all right? And a day later, I get this text message on the Signal app, which is encrypted, and it's from him. But you can tell someone wrote it for him. I'm just telling you my opinion.
Wow.
Mr. Stewart, I have been I don't know the vernacular. I have been commanded to have a cease and desist contact with you. I can no longer have any contact with you. I'm respectfully asking you do not respond. You do not cut and paste this. You do not share this text message with anyone. You are on the list, comma, for your FOIA request, your overseas emails. Thank you, Andrew Burlington. And the nature of your questionnaire. Do not contact me anymore. Then, and then his name Gatsby, which wasn't his name. And then the creepy part happened. Below that was, I've never been in the military. LeakYou look like military coding vernacular. Does that make sense? Like OD VS221-373. By only authorization can this message be transmitted. Then you saw like another person. Oh, and in the text message was this cease and desist order does not come from my agency, but from an agency higher up. Oh, I'd be like, why is he higher up? Well, I don't want to go higher. I'm George Costanza. I don't want to be higher up. And I'm like, oh my God. Shit. And my wife's like, yeah, see what you did.
Wow.
Yeah, true story.
That's heavy.
Other coding and other weird vernacular. And now one of the reasons I think people talk to me, people continue to talk to me, is because I do everything to the red letter what a whistleblower tells me. If he wants me to go, go grab my daughter's, teddy bear and shake it out in this, I'm doing it. I do everything that they ask me. What they ask me not to talk about, what I can't talk about, who can I say that I talked to them. And I followed Gatsby's direction. I didn't cut and paste. I didn't share it with anybody. And like about 4 hours, it was gone. He was gone. I couldn't get him on my Signal app. Wow. It was truly a bizarre moment. And that was really my only kind of all the president's men, deep throat, like, your lives are, and that was very, very scary. Now, I've been told by Dr. Stephen Greer, I've been told by Gatsby himself, I've been told by Rick Doty that, eliminating people stopped when the Cold War was over, that they were so, and this is what I've been told. I know there's going to be people writing me, no, you don't understand, that was a hit, but that was what I've been told by multiple people, that we were so paranoid in the Cold War that we took extraordinary means when someone was going to get out some sort of information or technology that can help us overcome and win the Cold War, and that does not happen anymore. But what does happen is first they assassinate your character, then in the olden days, then they assassinate you. So I was told by Carrie that, look, you obviously don't, obviously you pay your taxes, you haven't been in trouble with the law, you're not a typical wrestler that's, got 14 divorces and drug charges and DUIs. And I'm not saying I lived a clean life or I'm a perfect person. I am anything but a perfect person. Oh yeah. But so that made, and then Dr. Greer said, Dr. Greer, who's like this brainiac, regardless of what people say or don't say, or he is like the brainiac. I'm like UFOs for dummies. He starts talking and I'm like, this guy is like an encyclopedia. He said, look, he said, a while back, yes, you'd have to be worried. He goes, but there's no money in gray aliens. I'm like, what? He's like, there's no money in the grays. Lockheed and Raytheon and Bigelow, they're not making money off of ET, tissue samples. They're making money off the craft and the technology and whatnot. Yeah. So that was, Greer kind of put, Dr. Stephen Greer, by the way, another guy who's just been, you email him, boom, email back. That's all you're looking for when you're doing this and you're all alone and your ass is twisting in the wind in the middle of the field. You just look for a guy like Greer, Doty, Don Schmidt, Mike, you to reach out. How you doing? Hey, we support you, so on and so forth. That's all you look for. You don't look for to be patted on the back or be held on everyone's shoulders. So anyways, now what was the, there's so much after that. So now, I'm like, okay, now I have this information. Now a production company gets a hold of me. Yes, we're gonna start doing a sizzle reel. You've got, as Bob Lazar says, it's the biggest story in humanity. So now absolutely, I go to a little jump backwards. I go to Havana on a lead. My stepson and I, and my son's getting cigars, and I'm sitting in the fountain area of Old Havana. Never go to Old Havana. And a woman comes out to me. She goes, "Oh, you're what everyone's talking about." We were there the third day Americans could go to Cuba, and my son was wearing a Chicago Bulls baseball hat, and they were just going wild like he was a celebrity. "Oh, you're the guys from Chicago Bulls, and blah blah blah." And I just felt weird. And I don't know if she was a prostitute, CIA, Cuban, and I don't know, but it was weird. And maybe she just was a local, but I have had a ringing in my ears since 2016. Thank you, the UFO world.
Wow.
And my ENT can't figure it out. So if you don't think that, and my story is not to, feel sorry for me, but my story is if you don't think that there's not collateral damage in all of this, I mean, think of the hours that I spent away from focusing on my wife, with my wife, or my daughters, Kim and Khloe Kardashian, I call them, who are in college. You know, this took a lot of family time away from my family. So there was a lot of weirdness. The first time, another story, I was going to show my family the entire Alien video. We walked to the TV room, to the computer. My daughter Allison gets a Snapchat instant message from a person she's not friends with. Do you believe in aliens? At that very moment, I called Chad Kalick, Mr. No Face producer. Chad Kalick, nicest human being in the world. He's like, John, I investigated ghosts for 20 years. I've never had any weirdness in my life. I started investigating aliens, and in 1 week, my life electronically went haywire. He goes, I can put you on the phone with my wife. And he goes, and it's going to happen to you. Mark my words. There was anybody that's had more of a prophecy that has turned into prediction, like Chad's prophecy. So we are down, because of the first name, to 2 candidates for Victor. They are both scientists, and I don't think anyone is going to be mad that, first of all, none of the names on the report or Victor's name, you have never heard of them. I will quote Linda Moulton Howe, who has seen the whole report. Oh my God, you have gold. What do you mean I have gold? She's like, you have gold here. Wow. I've never heard of any of these people. She's like, John, in the UFO community, when somebody comes with names who are legit intelligence or military people, and you can show the provenance in the background of them, you have gold here. She's like, you have gold here. I totally believe this report. So very interesting. So, but I'm here to tell you that there is, other than my bizarre journey, when I went to New York to be interviewed by a national newspaper, I won't go any further. I wet a towel and put it under the door at night. Maybe I thought they were, spoke me with, I've been so paranoid at times that I don't trust anything. So I have been very careful and just diligent but there's not going to be any big, like, oh, it was, behind the viewing gallery was President Bush or something like that.
Right.
Other weirdness of this. Victor has the Italian word is yoch. It's like a gripe, a grievance with Don Rumsfeld. And Victor said, for you people and for me, we're a team. Victor says, find out where Rumsfeld was on March 23rd, 1998. So I found out. I called his foundation. He wasn't in the military. And I get a weird, creepy email. Mr. Stewart, Mr. Donald Rumsfeld was at his house in Taos, New Mexico on March 23rd, 1998, which was Easter Sunday, having a lovely dinner with his family. Okay, thank you. Got that?
Wow.
My little file. I did what Victor asked. I found where Donald Rumsfeld was. Now, every day I'm researching on the internet. Taos, New Mexico, Dulce base. Okay, well, what I think of Dulce, and I don't. So I'm not. And I've been told you do not go there. So I'm not going there. However, Don Rumsfeld lived in my area, which is called the North Shore of Chicago. It's where all the John Hughes movies were filmed, the ivy-covered houses and, Northwestern University, that area. I live in one of the cheap houses, so I'm not bragging. But so Don Rumsfeld goes from this ivy-colored institutions of the North Shore, is a congressman, moves to Georgetown, spends his whole life in the ivy-colored, leaves changing Washington, D.C., and all of a sudden moves to Taos, New Mexico in the desert. Does that make any sense?
No.
Is that job? Maybe he has rheumatoid arthritis. Okay.
No.
So now,
not even for warmer weather.
Right. Now I see a weird page on Taos, like an insider typing something. That's my vernacular. And it says, about once a month, the group that runs Dulce meets in Taos, New Mexico. I'm not putting 2 and 2 together, but you can certainly put 2 and 2 together. Why does Victor have such a problem with Donald Rumsfeld? You want to talk about creepy? I was going to a church on the North Shore, this church, about 5 years ago. The parking lot is crowded. total George Costanza moment. I'm swearing I'm going to church. I pull into the church. It is the church where she's having a baby. The wedding scene from that movie was filmed. Beautiful church, beautiful people. I've been going there for 5 years. It's lovely. It's such kind people. 3 weeks ago, I'm in the hallway after going to the bathroom, getting back ready to go into the church vestibule. I look on the donor board. Mr. and Mrs. Donald Rumsfeld, parishioners, donated. And I'm like, I ended up at Don Rumsfeld's church. Okay,
That's
so
creepy.
That the creep, now you can play the Da Vinci music. And I just stood there for 5 minutes. I'm like, John, and Carrie Cassidy warned me of this 5 years ago. Carrie Cassidy's words. She goes, do you ever think to yourself? She goes, because I think you will eventually start to realize maybe to some degree you were chosen to bring this out. And I don't believe in that. I'm looking people in I don't believe in that. But damn, you could sure make some sort of argument that this is beyond coincidence and creepiness. The people that overlapped and so again, one other thing that I've been faulted, he keeps telling us the documentary's coming out on Netflix. I never realized the glacial speed of Hollywood. Okay. And I'm sorry, but when it comes out, it comes out. I hopefully, even if I have to do it myself in a crappy documentary where I'm sitting there telling the story like this with B-roll, folks, I will get this information out with the names. And I'm not worried about holding on to the names because 90% of them are dead and they did nothing wrong. I'm not exposing somebody for murder or for, it's murder. It's criminal for the money that has been spent. But other than
the fact that they're hiding this from the American people,
Exactly. So, I'm not worried. And again, people have told me you're not, this is not as hyperbolic as you think it is. But the names will come out once we are legal and once we get rolling on the documentary. And I said this is I'm like cousin Eddie from Family Vacation. It's this thing is the gift that keeps on giving. 4 days ago, I'm on YouTube. This is my last story, talking about no one is debunking it for me. I see David Oates, who does reverse speech, which I happen to believe in. I had a college professor that believed in it. And it says the 1997 Victor alien interview. Victor is analyzed. I'm like, oh, shit. It's going to get I am a fraud when they play it backwards. I'm fake, puppet or something.
Yeah.
And he starts playing it. And Victor says, it's from the Pleiades. It's in my head, thought projection. And he said one other thing about the creature's comfort. And David Oates, the expert who really calls into question, this is David Oates, not me, Lazar's story, David Wilcox's, some of his information, Hoagland, the guy, the Mars guy, he calls into question. What does he say about Victor? What does the reverse speech guy say about Victor? This man is telling the truth. And I totally believe with this analysis that Victor is telling us the truth about this alien interview. So that's what I call Carrie Cassidy. And now we're here with.
And now you're here with LeakYou.com. Well, we're underground a little bit, but we're working on, trying to get a little bit, above ground. But this is something that I've talked about for years. So, I mean, I was a 19-year-old young woman when that alien interview dropped, and I've been just as mesmerized by it like you. But it's incredible hearing your investigation, everything that you've done. And I just want to say thank you. I personally want to say thank you because you have given me life, literally. It's good. I look forward. Keep us posted on this documentary whenever it drops so I can tell everyone. And I hope to have you back to talk a little cryptozoology, because that is a topic we also discuss over here as well. Very interesting topic.
I would love to. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for having me on. You were so kind to me the past couple of days on text. Thank you for everybody watching and listening. Make up your own mind, your own decision. But I thank you for giving me a platform. And I hope I came across and gave credit to everybody that has helped me, from Burlington to, to Doty to to Schmidt and Greer and Linda and you and Carrie. And when I say team, it's been a team. So I am not the lone wolf here. I have been lifted up on so many other people's shoulders, and I just
amazing.
You and your audience that I respect and I appreciate everyone that's helped me.
Great work, Jon.
Thank you.
Great work. I can't wait to talk with you again. I will be in touch with you as well. And I mean, keep us posted if you need anything, and we're always here.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jon, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
One second, everybody. What an amazing, and I do mean amazing, excuse me, let me go on camera really quick. Let's see here. Maybe my camera's not working. I don't know. But what an amazing with Jon. I'm really, actually, let me do this. There we go. Let me fix this really quick. What an amazing interview, right? He was so obliged. Let me see if I can get this. Hold on one moment, you all. We're going to get it together here. I'm trying to get my image back on here. There we go. But anyway, you guys can see me up here in the corner. Let me see if I can make it bigger. TikTok's just kind of acting all funky with me, but you guys can see me up here in the corner. I really am so appreciative of Jon coming through. He did that initial interview with me. Shout out to Momo. Momo, thank you so much, everybody in the chat. Momo was the one that, that put me on to the fact that, hey, there's somebody that, you want to check out Project Camelot. Essentially, there's a man that is trying to get his story out. And, it is a very interesting story. And, needless to say, folks, all I will say is this, and I'll just leave this up for now. I'm not going to fiddle with it. No point. But, Jon has done so much work. He's been to Congress. He has showed video. He has showed photos. He has went and literally talked to Congress members, and he's doing everything that he possibly can to get the word out on this, right? And hold on a sec, guys. Unlock. I think I figured it out. There we go. All right. Let's put this back up. And we're going to put this forward here. I'm sorry, guys. Give me a sec. There we go. So Jon has been amazing. And that interview was phenomenal. That was our very first interview that we had together. And so I played that tonight because I wanted to provide context for the interview that's coming tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, December 1st, 7 o'clock on a nice Sunday night. He's going to come through. We're going to go into detail regarding the documentary that he dropped called Hunting Victor. The case is closed. Victor has been identified as Stan Deo at this point. And so he's going to come through. We're going to have a great conversation, just like tonight, this one that we had originally. And I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks to everyone that came through. We had well over 100 people watching, including, across all platforms, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. And shout out to Twitter. Twitter has been amazing. I have finally figured out how to get views on Twitter. I did it for so many years and couldn't seem to figure out why am I not getting views? My content is decent. So to watch the documentary King Bull, go to huntingvictor.com. The cost is $8.85, and you get the documentary for 8 months. So I've watched it twice already. I've been preparing questions for Jon, while watching the documentary, and I'm going to end up watching it again. Just so I can, cover all my bases. But Jon is a great person to interview. He has an amazing, aura about him. And I'm really looking forward to speaking to him tomorrow. I have so many questions, and Jon is, pushing for disclosure big time. Pushing for disclosure. So, with that said, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming through and showing support. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Khalil. Shout out to Khalil Amani's World in the building. I love you, my brother, my YouTube hubby there. And shout out to all of you in the shadows who don't necessarily want to pop down in the chat. I appreciate each and every one of you. And let me just say, I don't talk to too many people privately, like on phones and DMs and all that type of stuff. So just know that if I speak to you personally, one-on-one, especially if you got like my personal phone number, I cut for you. I really do. I cut for you. And I cut for a lot of people that I can't even name because I respect people's, anonymity. Now, before I close this out, I'm going to continue to build my TikTok. But I want to say this. If you have had an experience with UFOs, UAPs, or non-human intelligence, or something of the paranormal, or a loss of time, or things that may have happened to you when you were a child, that others would think are absolutely insane and crazy, I want you to know that I don't think you're crazy. Please reach out to me, LeakYou@iCloud.com. You can also reach me at leaksonline@gmail.com, but my LeakYou@iCloud.com is less cluttered with spam. I want to have conversation and talk with people because what's important here and what's another aspect of this that's very critical is we've got to get the stories out of those that have had experiences that they've been scared to talk about. And let me tell you something. I respect all people's wishes. And I do mean to the fullest. I never disclose a source. We could have a conversation on the phone. I guarantee you will not be getting recorded. And if you are so uncomfortable to where you don't want to come on camera, you don't want to speak where people may know your voice, I will literally handle it in a way where I will modify your voice. Nobody will know that it's you. I'll give you a fake name, all that. So just know that I respect people being anonymous, but I am interested in getting people to come forward, speak to me in an anonymous way, if you so choose, or you don't have to be anonymous if you don't want. And I want to start a show at least like once, maybe twice a week, where we talk about incidents that have happened, whether it was a UFO experience or an experience with an intelligence that was non-human, including paranormal, shadow people, gnomes, gnome people, all of that. So I want to, I know there's a lot of journalists out here, but there's a lot more concerned about what's happening in Congress, that sort of a thing. I'm concerned about what happened with you. And I think the more that we get these stories out, the more that people will feel more comfortable to come out. And how can the government deny millions of people having experiences? I can honestly tell you that I have had an experience myself. I've never met a non-human intelligence or an alien being face to face, but I have seen a UFO. There's a living person that can actually vouch for this. And I do suspect that there may have been something put in my leg at one point when I was 12 years old. That's a story for another day. It's hard for me to be for sure, because when these incidents happen, we don't have memory of these incidents happening. Now, I'm also willing to work with people who may want to go see a hypnotist and do a regression to try to remember something that they may suspect may have happened to them. I'm actually thinking about doing it myself. So I say all that to say, reach out to me. LeakYou at iCloud.com. I will respect all privacy. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming through, all of the supporters, everyone that has come through. I can't name all of you because I've got 1 minute before this ends. But I thank you guys for coming through. Make sure you're here tomorrow, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Jon will be here. He'll be right here with me live, and we're going to talk about the documentary and what he has discovered. And my question is, I want to know from Jon, was Colin Powell at that interview with that alien being? So you all, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through. I'll see you all on the next live stream. Until next time, everyone.
Hey guys, I'm still here on StreamYard. Obviously, I was streaming from, let me start my cam up. I was streaming from one laptop, sorry, look at the right camera, one laptop to another. And let me give a shout out to those of you in the chat, because I only had 1 minute left on TikTok. Shout out to Kalilamani's World. Shout out to King Bull, who has been very open and talkative in the chat. I've got several voice changers. Again, if there's a story that anyone has and they don't want to be known, I'm willing to go above and beyond to make sure to protect your privacy and your identity. I would never disclose a source. Shout out to King Bull. Shout out to Momo. Momo is the reason why me and Jon Stewart are talking. Momo caught a live on Project Camelot and shared the information with me. And I'm so grateful to her for that, because it kind of honestly kind of changed my life in a good way. Because although I was covering UFOs, UAPs, aliens, non-human intelligence, archaeological things prior to, she opened a door of opportunity to me, and I'm forever grateful to her. And I love her to pieces. She is a long-term LeakYou.com supporter, years. So shout out to her. Shout out to Emmanuel Briggs. Shout out to Police Brutality Videos who dropped in as well. Let's see here. Shout out, and Momo, I will ask that question tomorrow. I will ask that question tomorrow. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there has been an influx of activity of UFOs flying over the Capitol. And it is a story I may cover actually. Shout out to Michael Reich. Interesting comment there. Let's see here. Who else? Hood Smokers Podcast. Good to see you as always, brother. Good to see you. Who else do we got in the building? Let's see here. There was a lot of comments. We had, like I said, over 100 people watching at one point, and I'm hoping we'll have a couple hundred more watching tomorrow. I'll be doing a lot of marketing, and there will be clips dropping in preparation of the interview tomorrow. Let's see. Who else do we got in the building today? Let's see here. I really appreciate all the interaction, guys. Sweet Pea. Good. Shout out to Sweet Pea Diaries. Let's see here. I'm going. I'm still scrolling. Dalai Lama's tea. Much love to you. My baby Centel came through. I love you, babe. Shout out to Born Industrious. Good to see you, Dolly, as always. I hope to see you tomorrow at 7:00 Central Standard Time when we do the live interview with Jon. Again, tonight was a prepper so that I could provide context around the interview that's coming tomorrow. Thanks to Lorene and Khalil and to you guys for letting me know that there was some double speaking going on. It was my first time streaming the way that I did. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you helping me out on that. I was able to fix that echo and all is well. So yeah, guys, shout out to each and every one of you again. Tomorrow, December 1st, 7 p.m., Jon will be joining me for a new interview to discuss his recent documentary, Hunting Victor. Go to huntingvictor.com. It is $8.85. And you will be able to watch the pay-per-view special for 8 months. So I encourage you guys to check it out. If you can before tomorrow's interview, I think it'll be, quite interesting. And it is family friendly, guys. Again, I will be streaming my interview with Jon on all platforms: YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. And I have several pages on Facebook with, 10 to 15,000 followers, and the videos will be shared over there as well. Again, if you have had a UFO or non-human intelligence experience, please email me, LeakYou@iCloud.com. I would love to interview, and I do, again, take anonymous interviews. And again, I do not reveal my sources. Guys, it's been really, really a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Before we get up out of here, allow me to pay a few bills if you don't mind.
Shout out to the LeakYou community. Please join us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
please hit the like. Thank you.
And by the way, guys, I will be opening up the Discord after this live stream. I only do it very rarely, but I will be opening it up. I will post a link I will post the link on my community wall on YouTube, as well as on my other social media such as Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. So feel free to come on in. Please know when you come in, there will be a few channels that you'll see, but there are many, many more top secret channels. We want to get to know you before we, invite you into some of our more top secret content, so to speak. So I look forward to meeting many of you. And again, guys, please share the video out, especially tomorrow's video. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope, again, that you've had a great Thanksgiving holiday. Let's end it off with a bang. Tomorrow night, December 1st, 7 p.m. Until next time, everyone.
The judgment sentence that you are an asshole. The trial is over. Thank you, everybody.
Let's play a game. You have 10 seconds to take all your stuff and get out of my life. 10, 9, 8.
God bless you, motherfucker.
You're really smart. Like really, really, really smart like I am.